Hello, my dear friends. My name is Grandma Yoder. I'm 79 years old, and around here, most folks know me as Eli Yoder's grandma. I've lived a simple Amish life for many decades, and through those years, the Lord has taught me lessons that I believe can help people of every age, whether you're younger than me, about my age, or even blessed enough to have lived longer. If you're watching this, perhaps you're like me. Maybe your children have grown up and started families of their own. Maybe your spouse has gone home to the Lord. Maybe your closest friends are no longer here. Or perhaps your body doesn't let you go places the way it once did. Loneliness has become one of the quietest struggles many older people carry. It doesn't always look like sadness. Sometimes it looks like sitting in the same chair every day with no one to talk to. Sometimes it looks like eating dinner alone. Sometimes it looks like waiting all day for the phone to ring, and it never does. I know that feeling. I'm an old Amish woman, and while our way of life is different from many people, growing old brings the same questions to all of us. Will anyone remember me? Do I still matter? Does my life still have purpose? Those are difficult questions. But today, I want to tell you something that I have learned through many years. Growing old does not have to mean growing lonely. As I continue talking with you, you'll simply be watching little moments from my everyday life, me working around the farm, cooking, quilting, walking outside, spending time with family whenever they visit. Nothing fancy, just ordinary moments that have become extraordinary blessings. So stay with me. Perhaps something I share today will encourage your heart. When I was younger, I believed happiness came from being busy, raising children, taking care of my husband, preparing meals, working from sunrise until long after sunset. Back then, I wished life would slow down. Now it has. Sometimes I smile when I remember those hectic days. Funny how life works. The very quiet we once wished for can eventually become too quiet. Many older people spend entire days without hearing another person's voice. That breaks my heart, because every human being was created for connection. We weren't made to disappear simply because our hair turned gray. One thing that has helped me more than anything else is refusing to stop having a daily purpose. Notice I didn't say a big purpose, just a purpose. Every single morning, before my feet touch the floor, I thank God for another day. I don't ask Him to make my day exciting. I simply ask Him to help me use it well. That little prayer changes everything. Instead of asking, "What do I have today?" I ask, "What can I give today?" That one question keeps my heart alive. One of the first things I do every morning is step outside. I breathe the fresh air. I listen carefully. Birds have become wonderful companions. The wind through the trees has become music. The sunrise reminds me that God is still painting the sky every single morning. Nature has a way of speaking peace into an old heart. You don't have to own a farm. Even sitting outside on a porch or beside a window can remind you that life continues. Sometimes we spend so much time looking inward that we forget to look outward. The world is still beautiful, and so are you. Another thing that keeps loneliness away is keeping my hands busy. Idle hands often invite worried thoughts. Busy hands leave little room for despair. Some mornings I bake bread, other days I quilt. Sometimes I knit, sometimes I mend clothing, sometimes I preserve vegetables from the garden, sometimes I simply sweep the porch. None of these things make headlines. No one applauds me. But they remind me that I still have something useful to do. Our value doesn't disappear simply because we've retired. There is dignity in ordinary work. Always remember that. The garden has become one of my greatest teachers. When I plant seeds, I know I must wait. Nothing grows overnight. Growing older has taught me patience in much the same way. There are seasons when life feels empty, but empty seasons don't last forever. Flowers bloom after winter. Hope returns after sorrow. Every little green sprout reminds me of that. Sometimes I think God planted gardens just to remind older people never to stop believing in tomorrow. Yeah, I also spend time reading my Bible every day, not because I have all the answers, far from it. The older I become, the more questions I seem to have. But every time I open those pages, I find peace. Even on days when no one visits, even on days when the house feels unusually quiet, God's presence fills the silence, and somehow the silence no longer feels lonely. There is a difference between being alone and being abandoned. I have learned that I am never abandoned. Can I share something important with you? Please don't isolate yourself. I know it's tempting, especially after losing someone you love, especially after illness, especially after disappointment. But isolation feeds loneliness. Even small conversations matter. Wave at your neighbor, write someone a letter, visit a friend, invite someone over for tea, smile at the grocery store. Human connection doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes a 5-minute conversation can brighten an entire week. One of my greatest joys is spending time with younger generations. Children don't care about wrinkles. They don't notice slower steps. They simply enjoy love. Whenever my grandchildren visit, I don't try to impress them. I tell stories. I teach them how to knead bread, how to sew, how to plant seeds, how to be patient. I may not leave them riches, but perhaps I'll leave them wisdom. Older people have something this world desperately needs: experience. Please don't keep it locked inside. Someone needs your story. Sometimes people ask me, "Don't you ever feel sad?" Oh, of course I do. I'm human. I've buried people I dearly loved. I've cried alone. I've had sleepless nights. I've questioned God. I've missed the voices that once filled this house. Growing older doesn't erase grief, but I've learned something beautiful. Joy and grief can live together. You can miss someone deeply and still smile. You can cry and still be thankful. The heart is wonderfully made. One habit I started years ago has become very precious. Every evening, I think of 3 things I'm thankful for. Some days they're big things. Most days they're very small: warm soup, a friendly visitor, fresh eggs, a beautiful sunset, a letter in the mail, good health for another day. Gratitude slowly changes how we see life. Instead of counting what we've lost, we begin counting what remains, and there's often far more remaining than we realize. I also remind myself not to compare my life to others. Comparison steals contentment. Someone else may travel. Someone else may own beautiful things. Someone else may have more visitors. But comparison has never brought peace. Contentment has. I've learned to appreciate the blessings sitting right in front of me. Usually, they're enough. If you're watching this and you've been feeling lonely lately, I want you to know something. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. Your life still matters. Your voice still matters. Your kindness still matters. Even if only one person needs your encouragement, that's enough. Sometimes we think we need to change the whole world. Perhaps today, we simply need to brighten one person's day. As you've been watching these little moments from my life, you've probably noticed something. My days aren't exciting. They're peaceful. There's a difference. I don't chase constant entertainment. I chase meaningful living. Peace has become more valuable than excitement. Simple routines have become treasured gifts. The older I become, the more I appreciate ordinary days. If you've stayed with me this far, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'd love to hear from you. Please tell me in the comments, how old are you and what is one simple thing that brings you joy each day? Maybe your answer will encourage someone else who reads it. Let's make this comment section feel like neighbors sitting together on the porch, sharing stories and lifting one another up. And if today's conversation warmed your heart even a little, I hope you'll subscribe and join me again. I'll continue sharing little lessons from my life, simple Amish traditions, stories from growing older, and the quiet joys that have helped me find peace. There are many more stories I'd love to tell, and I'd be honored to have you along for the journey. Until next time, take care of your heart, be kind to yourself, stay close to those you love, and remember, growing old is not the end of your story. Sometimes it's the chapter where wisdom finally finds its voice. God bless you, my dear friends.